Let's make this decision at some point and then decide. Otherwise, I'm just going to be making up URLs. Welcome to the Marketers of the Universe podcast. I'm Hayden Woods-Williams, digital marketing team lead here at Brew Digital. And today we are delving into the big world of social media. Instagram's recently rolled out some new safety features that definitely need a little bit of discussion. And LinkedIn has jumped on the bandwagon of short form video with their creatively named LinkedIn Shorts. We'll be asking Debbie and the social team how they see things changing from a user and a marketer's perspective. Then we are jumping over to our SEO team, which is very apt actually, because we're recording this a day before some of the team head to Brighton SEO. We're continuing our how to make quick impactful changes sessions. We'll delve into some of the easiest things you can do to make sure your SEO is working harder for you. I'll also take this time to mention that we're offering free digital marketing reviews with insights from our marketing experts on everything your business is doing across digital marketing and reviews across individual channels as well. Head over to www.brewdigital.com/digital-marketing-review. That is www.brewdigital.com/digital-marketing-review. Anyway, let's get on with the podcast.
Hello then, it's me, Debbie, Senior Social Media Manager here at Brew. Today's episode is going to be very interesting as it's all about social media. Da-da-da-da. So, who are in the call with me? Freya, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Freya and I'm the Digital Marketing Coordinator here at Brew Digital.
Welcome, Freya. I think you all know Freya by now. She has been on our other episodes. And with Freya is my good friend from Scriptrunners, social media manager, Emily. Say a few words to our audience.
Hello, audience. I'm Emily. I'm the social media and community manager over at Scriptrunner, part of the Adaptivist Group. And I've been at the Adaptivist Group for about 2 years now. And I got my start in Brew, covering for the fabulous Debbie. And then I wiggled my way over to a different social role. So yeah, social for life.
Social for life, indeed. We have a very interesting topic today as we are going to go deep into all the social media changes happening right now. So we'll get started. First on our list is the recent Instagram change, basically making it more safe for younger users. How do you feel about this in terms of how will it really influence the behavior of our younger users? Emily, do you want to go first?
I think ultimately the genie is somewhat out of the bottle, and making a platform safer after the fact, I think broadly has two impacts. Firstly, it does make it safer for the users who are not yet on the platform. So for the future, and that's great, that's always important. But the other impact, I think, it makes it unappealing for the people who are already on the platform. And I'm talking specifically about the younger demographic. So I think it's ultimately a good thing because it's never too late to do the right thing. But I do think it will have an impact on who stays on the platform, because the perception of safety can be that the platform is suddenly the fun police. Even if that safety recommendation or filter or however it manifests, even if it's for your own good and will ultimately have a net benefit on you as a person, it suddenly feels less fun. It feels less free. It feels like there are restrictions in place that they weren't previously. So ultimately, it's a good thing, and it will be a good thing for the future of the platform because it's necessary, and young people are extremely vulnerable in these spaces. So I do think it ultimately is a good thing, but I do think there will be a perception of got a bit tighter, pulling in the reins.
Yeah.
And I think that can be a bad thing when it comes to retaining your current user base. They will ultimately drop off as they get older anyway, and they start to migrate to other places. TikTok is obviously a massive competitor in that space. But I think it's a good thing that they're doing this.
Good. I mean, I completely agree, and it's worth following up on this and how does it change the users on the platform. What are your thoughts, Freya? I mean, how does this feel for you? I know you have younger siblings. Does it feel much more safer for you at this point?
I mean, I think safer is always better. And luckily for them, my youngest sibling is actually 16, so I don't think this applies to them anymore. But it's not too late to make Instagram a safer platform. And I completely agree with all of Emily's points. But I also do think that if people really don't agree with it, they will just change their age. Like, as far as I know, you don't require identification to set up a new Instagram account. So realistically, those who will be setting up an Instagram account will either fall into two camps. Those whose parents really care about it, and so will make sure that they have the 16 and the limit. And the only thing that really changes for them, as far as I know, is that they have to consciously choose who follows them. Or those whose parents don't really care and they don't really care, so then they will most likely end up just setting their age as older than they are, so that they don't have to be private until they turn 16. So yeah, I think they're good changes, but I don't necessarily think they'll be that drastic, as there are easy workarounds for them for people who don't want to comply with them.
100%. Well, lucky for us on these calls, our clients are, B2B tech companies or in the tech space. So we don't have to really worry about how this affects us. But for some of our listeners who run platforms where their consumers are the younger generation, what's your advice for these marketers? Let's go with Freya.
To be honest, I don't think that it's going to change that much, because you can still market to these people, because it's not whether they can follow you, it's just whether you can follow them back. And realistically, if you're marketing to a bunch of 16 and unders, you shouldn't be following them back anyway, because GDPR, they're children, So from a marketing perspective, I don't think you should change your strategy that much, really.
Interesting. I would think as well, giving my 2 cents here, I have in the past worked in education. I feel like this is a sector that, rather than the younger generation or your younger consumers following the brand, they will most likely follow friends. So maybe this influences whether you have a strong ambassador program or advocates or influencers. Maybe that would be something that marketers could start considering. So rather than you just pushing in content that, they might be interested in, why don't you find somebody that is more relatable and could send a more authentic brand message for you rather than you yourself? So that could be something, 2 cents for all our listeners out there. I think you guys have mentioned TikTok as one of the potential channel that users can move into. Well, TikTok actually has now also extended its video length to 10 minutes, which we find very interesting, as it is one of the platforms not really pioneering, but really jumping on the short form video trends. Do you feel like this move will attract longer form content creators, or it will change the platform's unique appeal of bite-sized entertainment?
I personally don't think it will massively change what the platform is. But I do think it will start attracting those YouTube creators, those Patreon creators, and giving them the opportunity to do what they do really well. And we've already seen it sort of starting to seep through. I'm curious as to how, in the long run, this will affect the Creators Fund and how creators are paid. If I make a 10-minute story, that's 10 videos that aren't monetized individually in the Creator Fund. So unless the Creator Fund can accommodate those long form creators, some of which have budgets and high production values, and because they're used to creating that long form content, that maybe a certain degree of production value goes into what they make. So if that can't be offset by the Creator Fund paying them out for what they're doing, I don't know if they'll consider it worth it, and they might stay where they are. But I think that will come in time, whether the type of content they make is the same. They might still make content and it might be longer, but is it comparable to what their viewers can see on their other platforms? I think that will be a really interesting outcome to follow.
Freya?
Yeah, I think TikTok extending their videos up to 10 minutes was a really smart idea. And also the Creator Fund is just shambles. Like, I could get into the Creator Fund for so long because I don't even think it's either Australia or America, but they don't have the Creator Fund. So long form video won't really change their monetary value, as well as the fact that I think in England it has to be over a minute anyway to be able to get any money from it. But I will say that I have been watching TikToks and will have suddenly realised, oh my God, I've been watching this for like 3-4 minutes now. It definitely allows more room for sort of creative expression in the form of music videos, short videos, and sort of more cinematic footage. And I also think it will, maybe not from a YouTube to TikTok perspective, but from TikTok to YouTube, I think it will allow a smoother transition because creators can start creating longer videos and seeing if there's that demand within their following before then transitioning to YouTube. But I don't think it will replace YouTube by any means, because YouTube is very established in what it is. And yes, they have YouTube Shorts, but I don't think you can really compare the two.
Do you guys feel like this is almost going into the realm of YouTube as an SEO? We see now TikTok as an SEO platform.
Yeah, and I 100% use TikTok as a search engine as well, more than I had this discussion actually the other day with Jason, our SEO guy, and I genuinely do use it more than Google, because I like to be able to sort of have a video explaining what I want or video showing examples of where I want to go, rather than Google and having to scroll through lists to see what I want.
Yeah, I think Google as a search engine it has been appropriately critiqued in the last couple of years because it's harder. It's a lot harder to navigate the true value of the content just from the search results page. But additionally, with the incoming of AI and replacing kind of the top snippet now, that's, if that goal is to just give you the answer in an AI snippet, A, is that correct? And B, every link underneath that is not getting traffic because you've just been given the exact answer in theory. So Google as a search engine is, in a way, more helpful if AI is correct, but also less helpful because you have to wade through so many sponsored results and clickbait and nonsense. So it's a confusing mess. So it doesn't surprise me that TikTok and YouTube have become such important search functionalities now at all. But it's also generational as well. TikTok being an instinctive native search function for young people is not surprising, but I think it's growing older demographics as well.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I've had clients who have asked me to go onto TikTok as well. And these are potential like clients that probably like 10 years ago, I would not think would go into this platform. But I have yet to host an episode wherein AI is not brought up. So, you know what? Let's talk about AI. AI, just like in everything, has also touched social media. It has, influence from automating content creation to improving user engagement in general. I want to, go away from like thinking about how brands have taken advantage of it, because I think it is very obvious from our last episodes about our own tips and tricks on how to take advantage of AI in your digital marketing strategy. If you have not listened to that, dear listener, go back to our episode right now. It's on the resource page of our website. But, I would like to ask the social media managers on this call, like, are there any ethical concerns we should be thinking about as this trend grows?
I think there is, it has been discussed, but I don't think it's at the forefront of the discussion, is like the ecological cost of AI in terms of the energy it takes to work with AI. So I think that's worth considering as an ethical concern. But again, much like I said with Instagram, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's way too quickly and way too deeply ingrained now in our technological experience of the world. So it's an awkward concern to have. Is AI ethical in certain ways? No. But are we going to do anything about that? I think it would take years to actually be appropriately responsive to those concerns.
Freya, your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with Emily. I think ethically there are a lot of concerns when it comes to AI. There's a lot of systemic bias. They steal artwork or inspired artwork from artists and copy from copywriters. But again, like Emily said, it's ingrained into everything now. I think TikTok and Instagram do require that you label things AI created if you create it with AI. So there's that on the sort of transparency front. But yeah, there are lots of ethical concerns as well as sort of setting unrealistic beauty standards. I know there was a while ago this photo of this woman giving a very old money aesthetic went viral, and only when the creator came forward and said that's AI did anybody really realize it was AI, because she was modeled off a model. So I think to make it in one of many ways a bit more ethical going forward, people should follow Instagram and TikTok's sort of standard and require things to be flagged if they are created with AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's the brands that will be responsible in terms of they will adhere to what is appropriate as best as they can. But it's the users of the platform that will be going off the rails, as it were, and trying and testing the limits of what AI can do. The problem in community management in regards to just social media and, product-based community platforms is, how do you stop people using AI to kind of game the system? How do you stop people using AI to post lots of comments to build up a reputation that might have even monetary rewards for it? How do you combat that? It's almost going to be impossible. So not only has it ruined the comment section on LinkedIn already, but it's going to be really hard to distinguish authentic reactions from AI. And we should be really concerned about that. How we combat that, I don't know, but it should be a major concern moving forward.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think like a lot of AI is not going anywhere. I think just like the previous technology, cars, machines coming into our lives, cell phones, I think it's just a matter of like us really taking over the technology and really managing it the right way. So LinkedIn has recently also changed their rules with regard to serving meta images. If you would jump on LinkedIn right now, you would find that most or all of the links are basically small, which is a major issue for B2B clients and companies who are dominating LinkedIn. Emily, how are you solving this? Because I do need your tips.
Oh, first of all, I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I had just gotten to a place with some work that we were doing where I was really, really emphasizing the need to make the meta images look a certain way. We're telling a certain story. We're encouraging people to click and explore the content in these ways. And then LinkedIn changed them and made them tiny, and I hate it. I think it's natural for platforms to push you to spend money, which is, I believe, how you combat the tiny meta images on LinkedIn, at least. So I understand why they do it, but it forces my hand, and nobody likes that experience of being made to operate in a certain way. So already LinkedIn are having an issue where people are having emotional reactions to this because they're being forced down a pathway. It's actually helpful for me personally because I'm taking on board more of a zero-click, impressions-first approach to my social strategy this year. So inadvertently, I won't actually be spending much more money to get those clicks so that my meta images, display a certain way. I just will be sharing fewer links and I'll be working more on gaining impressions and engagement. So I did hate it, and now I'm less affected by it because I've changed my strategy because they did that. So thanks, LinkedIn. If you hadn't done that, I would be maybe following you down and spending more money on your platform. And now I won't.
That is an interesting point of view as well, because I would have said that, it is basically organic social almost going into paid social territory. But I have also felt like in the past months that I am shifting strategies in terms of content format. to exploring more videos. And, Freya will attest to this, like taking on Instagram content and testing them on LinkedIn and how it performs. So it does forces us social media managers to be a bit more creative on this professional platform that is LinkedIn. Freya, do you have any thoughts to share?
You guys have said some great points. I think one of the main sort of notes that we should probably end up taking away from this is that there is a lot of changes happening on social media at a very rapid pace, and everyone is just going to have to become more flexible. For example, Instagram are trialing changing things like a vertical feed, sort of mimicking TikTok. And I happen to be one of those users that has a vertical feed, and I can confirm that at the moment I hate it. But yeah, so everyone's going to have to focus on being much more flexible, because your content that you've got scheduled to go out may have to change, and the content that you've got out may not look how you wanted it to look because of these platforms changing how they optimize things and changing how their sort of apps work. So yeah, lots of changes coming.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely right. Lots of changes coming. We always have to sort of react to them. We never get to make the decisions of what we would want the platforms to change. We're always in a reactive position. And I can scarcely think of an update that a platform's done that has ever made me happy. So maybe that's just the nature of working in social media, is you're always reactive and it's never something that you actually wanted to ask for. With one exception, the only change I can think of recently that actually made people happy was being able to edit the scheduled posts on LinkedIn. That's the only thing that made anyone happy that I've seen recently that I can think of.
And to be fair, talking about things that made people happy, is TikTok have recently, in a bid to promote in-app editing, made it so that if you want to delete a video but not completely delete it, you can delete it, but it goes back into your draft, so you can re-edit it, but only if you've edited it in-app. In a way, that has made me happy, because I can re-edit my TikToks, but also it does mean that I have to edit in TikTok, which is not my favorite thing to do.
Lots of nuggets in here. And I second that. I feel like any social media changes that have happened in the past, I always hated it, but then you live with it. And that's the human way. We all just adjust. Quick fire, as we end this episode, I would love to hear from our panelists in terms of like, what is like one change that you would do in the coming months in order for you to make sure that you stay ahead of any potential social media strategy changes that come our way?
I'd say video content. Just get video content into your strategy. TikTok uses it, Instagram uses it, LinkedIn is optimizing it and really pushing it out over the next 5 to 6 months. So if you haven't already, schedule and film your video content.
Agreed. On top of that, make sure it's vertical. I think historically, we have a tendency to veer away from vertical because it was really awkward, but it's been proven. It is like the standard now to have vertical videos. And if you go on your LinkedIn, on desktop even, you will see a vertical, suggested videos piece. And you just need to get over the hump of creating things vertically. Whether that's filming at an event, live people at a booth doing stuff, that's vertical. If you're making a brand video, that's vertical now. So just get on board with vertical video.
Amazing tips. So there you have it. And this is how we end this episode. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions for any social media changes, we do offer an audit of your social presence. So just make sure to reach out.
Our second section from today's podcast is titled How to Make Impactful Quick Changes to Your SEO. These sessions are designed to look at the big marketing channels that you're working across and just try and pick out one or two things that you can make small changes to in order to improve performance across everything you do. With me today, we have ShinRoo Chow, who is our SEO marketing manager. Good to have you with us, ShinRoo.
Hello, everyone. GTP on the session.
Cool. So first question. Now, SEO is an incredibly important part of digital marketing and of digital marketing strategies. But it's also probably one of the most confusing. From conversations I have with generalist marketers, a lot of the time it's something they refer to when they're trying to squeeze as many keywords into their copy. If you were to give a non-SEO expert one single tip for improving their SEO performance, what would it be?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you say. It could be confusing sometimes for SEO because it involves a lot of different aspects from the website, like technical part, the content, the backlinks. There's a lot of things you need to do to kind of see the result for SEO. So if I can give some suggestion for non-SEO expert, I would just say browse your website, your company's website or your own website yourself from a user perspective, or just invite a friend, family member to do so and see what feedback you will receive, because you probably just browse your website every day, multiple times. You can't really see the most important part. So sometimes you just need to change your mind or wearing other people's shoes, just to check the website from another perspective and to see what can be improved.
Super, thank you. I think that's really interesting. Feedback from users who aren't yourself. I think it's so easy to get caught up in your own brand when you're in that all the time. But a question I've got is, with SEO, are we not optimizing the website for Google rather than for users? How should we approach that?
I would say you need to optimize for both of them. So definitely user is the first, because even for search engine like Google, they really care about user experience. So that's why they kind of make a lot of updates or just kind of introduce new ranking factor or some evaluation standard. So user is always the most important. Just see what content we think is like high quality or useful for the user, and that's the first step. And how to present the content in the user-friendly way, like a UI, UX way, to guide the user or help the user to get the content or get the information they need the most. It's also another important part. So, and another thing for the search engine, of course, in your content or from your website, you need to first of all, you need to make your website crawlable so that the search engine can send a so-called spider to crawl your website to kind of understand what your website is about, what content you provide, and what other like third-party other website actually link to your website. Are they vouchering your website? So yeah, I think it's important both for user and for search engine.
Super, thank you. You've mentioned backlinks and linking to websites, as well as a little bit on the technical side as well. With our listeners, and I don't necessarily know if the knowledge will be there, but across SEO, we have technical SEO, we have on-page SEO, we have off-page SEO. If you are someone who is looking at this and you want to take that step beyond, asking just for user experience, where should their first focus be? Should it be on technical, on-page, or off-page?
I would say technical is like the fundamental things. You just need to make sure your website functions. Like, you can't really just go to your website and tell you this full page, and even you can't open it because there's a server issue. So make sure your website from a technical perspective is functioning normally. You can open it, you can browse the content, but I would say definitely content is the king. If you don't have content, then your website just there, like a box without an empty box make sure you have a usable website first. And it doesn't really need to be like really fancy, but I would say content involves a bit on page, a bit off page. But I would say just focus on the content, do the keyword research before you write the content, because you want to make sure what information you want to kind of send to the user and provide the useful information for them.
That's also interesting. I think actually when you break it down like that, it's a lot simpler than it sounds. You know, words like technical, on page and off page actually sometimes distract from the fact that if you've got great content and a website that is working, it's crawlable, it's simple, you're probably going to be able to have a good foundation in SEO, right? With that in mind, have you got any examples of clients that you've helped transform their SEO for, or kind of examples of companies that have done those foundational things really well?
Yeah, I just think of an example, but yeah, it's about content. So one of the clients, they actually had quite a few old content that have been performed quite okay, but they are kind of quite old, like 2-3 years ago. So we can see the impression is there. Actually, the impression is increased, but the click didn't kind of catch up. So just when I did the audit for the website, I recommended them to review those old content, and maybe we just take one of them to do some experiments. If we update that piece of content, and also make sure the date shows the latest date, and see what happened. So it turns out the click actually increased after they update, and the impression also increased. So it shows. So SEO is not like you do 100%, they will give you back 100%. It's about test and learn. You always need to do experiments, because there are hundreds of ranking factors for the search engine. So it's actually quite good to see that the experiment works. Just update the old content and make sure the content is still relevant for the user search and your user intent. And it turns out the result is positive. So for the website, I would definitely suggest just to do an audit of your website and to see what's the issues among those 3 pillars we call technical, on page or off page, and do some prioritization according to the resource the company has, and just do some experiment as soon as you found the issue.
Super. I think that's such good advice, particularly the old content. I think sometimes when we talk about any digital marketing channel, there's a bit of scariness to it because it feels like so much work. But actually, if all you're doing is going back if one of the things you can do is go back, look at your old content and update it, then actually that's quite an easy thing that you can go and do, right? You mentioned an audit there. Now, this is a shameless plug. We do actually offer free SEO audits to people who are interested. Head over to brewdigital.com, go to our service page and navigate to SEO, and you can request one there. But if for clients who maybe aren't ready to work for an agency or can't follow my complex instructions to find those SEO things, do look in the description. It will be in there. Are there any tools that they can use that can help them with getting those basic first steps of an audit or starting their SEO journey?
Yeah, I think the must is to install the Google Search Console for your website. it's the free tool that Google offers. Then you can check your performance, your click, your impressions, CTR, and also the ranking. And in the Search Console, you can also check any technical issue they highlight about the index section. You can also check your URL, index section status or any issue. But other than that, I will actually suggest for the technical and on-page part, screaming frog and the sidebar. These two I've been using them kind of since I dive deeper into the SEO world. They are really good tool. They can find really, really detailed issues on your website, and they also their website or even in the tools you can find information about what the issue is and how to fix it. So it's quite helpful. And for backlink or content, I think the most popular tools are SEMrush and Ashraf. They are really good, especially for the backlink. I would suggest Ashraf, and for the content will be the SEMrush. So I think most of them have some free version you can use and try, and you can decide whether you want to purchase the advanced function.
Super. Thank you, ShinRoo. This is obviously a little bit of a loaded question because, here at Brew Digital, we are a marketing agency or a digital agency, sorry. But do you think that companies need to engage with marketing agencies or freelancers or SEO specialist agencies, or is it something that they can do on their own?
I'll say it depends. So do they have a dedicated person or team to do SEO in-house? Or do they need any support on specific tasks? So they need to kind of review the team condition and also budget-wise. Then they can decide if they need extra help or they really need an agency to be their team, to join their team to do the SEO. So it depends on each company's situation. Then they can decide which one is the best for them to go for.
Super. And just to summarize, when it comes to SEO marketing, whether you engage an agency or freelancer or not, whether you go and use our SEO review, of what we've talked about, what are 3 things that listeners should go and do right now when it comes to their SEO marketing?
Yeah, I think first, definitely include SEO in their marketing plan and budget. Don't forget it. And second, involve the SEO team in any a website project as early as possible. That's very important so they can provide recommendations. I think the other one, just come to us, have a free audit. That's very important to understand your website performance and know your website. So reach out to us. We can do a free audit for you.
Love that at the end there. Thank you so much, ShinRoo. That's been really useful. That is all we have time for today. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope you found some useful snippets from that session and you're able to go and put them into your own marketing. We love that you've made it this far for your listen. We love making this content and would really love it if you could recommend this show to a friend, a colleague, anyone really that you think would enjoy listening. Thank you to the Brew Digital team, of course, for their research and input in today's session. Make sure to check out our past episodes, subscribe on whatever platform you use to listen to your podcasts, and we will see you on the next one. I've been Hayden, and these are the Marketers of the Universe.